Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on Reimagining Government Services with Digital Identity. My name is Ngozi Woko, and I'm the government lead within the Global Industry Marketing Organization here at Microsoft. There has never been a more meaningful time to support governments along their digital transformation journey than right now, in the midst of a global pandemic. Given the missions of governments worldwide, which includes keeping their citizens and constituents safe, providing social services for those in need, ensuring the availability of digital infrastructure required for the continuity of operations, and the desire to support many through economic stimulus packages, governments serve a vital role in empowering people and enabling societies. Microsoft is focused on three key areas to support governments worldwide in achieving their missions. For starters, we enable remote government access for employees who need the flexibility to work from anywhere in a remote fashion. Empower cross-agency collaboration is all about ensuring interdepartmental collaboration, which is imperative to delivering more effective and efficient services. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, delivering trusted and secure services to build confidence and trust in government. As you embark on your digital transformation journey with these three topics in mind, our goal is to empower you to achieve more for people, societies, and government organizations. With that, I'll hand it off to Trevor.
All right, thank you, Ngozi. James, so just yesterday, you and I were chatting, and you told me that evolving citizen services is the #2 priority for government CIOs. So what emerging trends are we seeing for governments regarding digital services, especially as a result of COVID?
Hey, Trevor, thanks. Great question. And I gotta say, this year has, with the pandemic and everything else that's happened, has definitely been challenging. Trying to find good things coming out of that. One of the good things is, I think, is accelerated transformation of digital services in government. And if I could start responding to your question with a wider view and then kind of really zoom in. So if you think about companies that are born in the cloud and how agile that they can be and how innovative that they can be, and then you think of companies that weren't and on a spectrum, and then you go over to government, which is on the other side of that spectrum. Government's got mainframe systems, client server, virtual, some in the cloud, and so they're delivering services across that whole spectrum. And there's a pressure on government to deliver commercial grade experience that those born in the cloud companies are delivering. And the bottom line, and you and I have talked about this, Trevor, so citizens see government as a whole, not as these individual branches, divisions, sections, departments, and things like that. And there's an expectation that services are delivered in that enterprise way. So expectations are up. There's what we're seeing, especially this year, is a prioritization of digital first service models. There's, as I said, an acceleration of digital transformation. And so rapid move of citizen services like unemployment insurance. We're doing a lot of work around vaccine registrations across the nation related to the pandemic. But there's lots of other services. When the pandemic hit, I was actually a state CIO, and we had to figure out how can folks access social services? How can they access the DMV? How can they access for business licenses and things like that? So all of those have really pushed out citizen services. The challenge is that it's kind of done department by department. And so the next evolution of that is when we really deliver at that enterprise level. And I think we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah, so let's actually get into that, because you bring up some great points there about access across different governments, how citizens want to view their government as a holistic enterprise as opposed to it being agency silos. But obviously, as soon as you say the word access, we're also talking about security and credentials as well. So can you talk a little bit about the foundational concept of a citizen digital identity with their government and why that's so important to governments as they improve their digital services?
Yeah, another great question, Trevor. And trust is a key component of adoption for these digital
Trust
services.
is huge. Yep.
You know, I've been around long enough. I remember when I worked in government, like when we put our first website out, and we were like, "Yay, we're on the World Wide Web," and we were, all excited about that. And then, we started doing transactions, and we were like, "Yeah, we're doing, e-government," and then we just did e-government all over the place, and we've just kind of stayed there at that point. And so a big part of that was, citizens were asking, like, is this secure? And the standard was, is this secure as my bank? And we had to find, nomenclature to convince them that we're using the same technologies. And so when you start thinking about a digital identity where someone can enter in and then move laterally across your accounts within a government or at a private company, that security is paramount. And like back when we were putting those services out there, the threats have increased exponentially to stealing that information, as we see regularly in the media. So, being able to allow customers to enter in once in a secure way and access, services across the state is key in a way that they feel confident with. And so, I know we're working with some customers on that, and I know you're personally involved in
Yep.
some of those endeavors, and so it's pretty exciting work.
So you bring up an interesting point there about, a lot of these things about a citizen identity is about protecting citizens in the real world. And in the real world, when we talk about a physical environment, we have government issued identity cards and passports, and they get used by the citizen to protect themselves for everything from opening bank accounts to employment to all sorts of activities where they can use that to prove their identity in a safe way. And those are credentials issued by government. And we're hearing more and more of conversations about this concept of distributed identity, digital identity wallets. What is our point of view here at Microsoft about the role of government in a distributed digital identity or verified credential type of ecosystem?
I think it's foundational to, the next evolution of intelligent government services. That entry point, that digital front door is identity. And so I brought with me, and I can't show you, up close, but I just got my state issued driver's license. Notice I keep moving it around because I don't want my PII getting out there.
That's right.
And so we're doing a pilot right now in the state, and your point is perfect, right? People look to the government to establish identity. And whether you're using that identity in the government space or even in the commercial space, they're looking for that credential. And so what I've seen is states are starting to just realize that, hey, this physical credential that we've been giving out, now most things are done in a digital way, and they're moving in the direction of issuing digital credentials similar to what I just showed you there, but online as well. So they're already that trusted source, and I think we're going to see more of that. And it is the front door to those citizen services that we've been talking about. So I see the evolution of the digital ID is being able to leverage state services, I think also local government services, and eventually, once proven, I think it'll cross over into commercial activity. It seems to be working in the opposite direction right now. Like, we have these credentials with private companies that we're leveraging, we are able to leverage in government. And I think it'll eventually go in the other direction as well, be bi-directional.
I think you've had excellent insight there, and I know you're You were formerly the president of the National Association of State CIOs, so you've got a lot of peers and partners out there who you've collaborated with over the years, and your insights are really valuable there. So any final thoughts you want to give us here on citizen services and identity?
Trevor, I think the conversation's been great. You mentioned NASCIO. They put out a top 10 list from their membership every year, and your questions have really honed in on the top two items. The number one item for many years running has been security. But what I've watched over the last 5 years is digital services rise up to number two. I'm going to predict that I think that we're going to realize that security is just inherent in everything that we're doing, and digital services will eventually take the top spot. And so what that is saying to all of those folks in the government space is citizen expectations are high for intelligent government services going forward. And I'm getting messages that are curated and related to me. I can access those services using a digital assistant, a website, a phone. They are accessible and they're delivered in an enterprise way. So I'm authenticating once, and I'm able to move laterally throughout government and conduct my business anytime, anywhere, from any device.
All right, so with that great information there, I'm now going to take us into a demo of a real environment where we have delivered citizen services with citizen digital identity for our customers.
Wow, sounds exciting. Thanks a lot, Trevor.
Hey, thank you, James. Greetings again, everyone. This is Trevor Esco again, and I am going to take us through a short demo of a citizen experience in creating a digital credential with their government. The model I'm going to show you is from our demo environment, and it follows a 3-tier structure for creating a digital identity, which is very consistent with the identity frameworks that are coming out all over the world right now. We're seeing these identity frameworks in the Americas, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, which involve a 3-tiered process for a individual to go from being kind of a self-declared or unauthenticated user of government services or interactor with the government to a fully verified credential. I'm going to show you this model here. I'm going to show you our demo environment to do that. So let me launch some information here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover where we might see these sorts of scenarios take place, or where we have seen them. I'm going to show you 2 existing customers we have. The first one here is the Government of Ireland. This is their MyGovID registration portal. As you can see, it is the place that a citizen of Ireland goes to get their identity for everything from their driver's license to childcare, and to their welfare environment. There's information right here saying this is where you need to come to get your ID to get your COVID-19 payments and services. This is one customer we already have on this platform. Another customer is the government of the Gauteng province of South Africa. Gauteng is the largest province in South Africa, about 12 million citizens. This is their live website. This is their portal to all government services. And it requires a citizen credential to get into all of the services. At this time, they have just over 7 million individuals registered with credentials of varying kinds on here. I'm going to go ahead and go into this again as a citizen experience for creating their credential. I've already created a login to the government site. So I'm going to go ahead as the citizen, and I'm going to log into the site with just a basic login, a username, which is an email address, and a password. And that logs me into the site. And now I'm in here. I'd given them my name previously because I logged in. And if I go into my information here on the site, what I will see is that I am a self-declared user. This means that what I've done is it says right here, self-declared. I have given the government just enough information to create an account, and that's all. We know how simple and easy that could be. I mean, this account could be really just about anything at all. It could even, just be it's just a name and password. We can do these all over the place on the internet. So there isn't a lot of verifiable information here. I'm going to first upgrade myself to tier 2, which is then a fact-based user. And to do that, governments can create their own ways that they do it. But one way they might do it is by requiring that the person put in a verifiable address, something that they can actually look up and compare against a government record of some kind and say, there's my address. And I'll go ahead and save that change so that it's in the system. Okay, and now I'm a fact-based user. That means that the government was able to take my address, maybe run it against a property record, maybe run it against a existing driver's license record, and they could match up my name and my address together. They could also use some other information. For example, they could be required to put in a tax account number or a social security number in the case of the United States, or some other sort of welfare number. They could be required to, maybe they've got the government has a partnership with a bank or financial services institute. They can put in a bank account number and it can get verified against the bank account number. So I've put in the information here that make me a fact-based user. But that means that I've been verified against a record to show that I am who I say I am. Now, the third step is a fully verified credential. This is where an individual actually would verify themselves against the physical world to prove they are who they say they are. And when somebody becomes a fully verified user, that means the government is now willing to stand behind this digital credential in the same manner they would stand behind a passport or a government issued ID card or any sort of other record that they have issued that says this is someone we know. So what I've done here is I said I want to become a fact-based user, and I've been given a security code. This would have also been emailed to me for the security code. And I can now take the security code, and I said I'm going to do this in person. I'm going to go present it to a government official and get my credential verified. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch browsers here so that we can see I'm now going into a government office. This would now be a potential interface for a government employee to come and sign into it and say, let me verify this individual. And when I say start, I'm going to take the ID number that the citizen brought with them, and I'm going to take the email address that they said they're looking to verify. I'm going to match those two items up. And it's going to come back and say, okay, what are you trying to do with this person? And I'm going to say, okay, this is who I have in front of me. And then we can put in types of documents that the individual would present to the government employee. So some of them might be, I might be saying, well, I need to see a passport, or I need to see your driver's license, or I need to see your birth certificate. I might say I need one item from group 1 and a couple items from group 2, or vice versa. I also need to see a tax bill or a utility bill that shows your address. Anything that the citizen brought to proof themselves, and we would have told them in the email what they would need to bring. And now I'm going to be able to say, well, I can now vouch for this citizen. And when I do, yes, I wish to proceed with that. And this citizen has now been approved as a fully verified person. When I go back to the demo environment, if I refresh this page on my credential here as the citizen, or if I were to log off and have done this days later and come back in again, we'll see that I am now got a check mark here. I'm now a fully verified individual. What this means, again, is that the government has determined that this digital credential meets the full standard of a fully verified credential. It's been matched against the physical world, and the government is now willing to say that this individual has access to all services that they would need to have access to for perhaps social welfare and social care, COVID-19 care, financial transactions with the government. In the future, this could become a credential that also then stands behind a distributed digital identity, or what we call a verified identity on the internet, where this could be used as the individual's digital credential in a smart wallet of some kind, with the government being the individual, the organization that stands behind it, saying, we have verified this individual and this is an identity we're willing to stand behind. That is, again, the citizen experience going from a basic login credential to a fully verified digital credential. And again, it's a system, it's a solution we've implemented multiple times for customers around the world. And it aligns to most, if not all, of the credential management policies that we are seeing coming out around the world. Thank you. All right, so we're done with the demo. So Aldis, thank you for joining me. You're one of our global architects, our senior global architect for government services. So let's make this real now by talking about the architecture that's actually behind the scenes for these systems like the one we implemented for Gauteng, South Africa. So perhaps can you launch a whiteboard session and actually walk us through what that architecture looks like for a citizen services implementation and identity hub architecture?
Hi, Trevor. Yes, let's jump in. Okay, Trevor. So we are now at our whiteboard. So what we'll do now is to actually start to draw out that basic foundational solution first of what we did, and then we can kind of look where we have various extension points here, right? So obviously we start with the citizen in the center, right? So that's our citizen, and as we saw in the demo, the citizen is trying to access the portal of the government. This access we need to protect, right? And in our solution, what we are doing is that we are relying on identity hub, as we call it. So let's say that this is a portal. We have ID hub here as well. I'll call it like this. So what happens when the user gets to the portal? They get redirected to ID hub, and this is that kind of magic component, if you will, that is providing that flexibility of connecting users into the government solutions using various types of authentication. Specifically in Gauteng, what we did is that we enabled multiple ways of authenticating using social identities, things like MS account, right, for example, that we had here. We also did other social identities like Facebook, right? And of course, we did kind of self-service option with the email and password as well. Right. This thing is something that can be extended as well. So in the future, this can be added to banking identities and other identities as well. So that's kind of one of the extension points we get out of the box by using this solution. Now, what happens behind the scenes here? It's actually not just that identity hub that provides that identification to the users, and then the users can log into the portal. What happens is that when we provision account initially, all of this data actually gets stored in our Identity Hub data store that is actually based on Dynamics 365. And this is kind of another extension layer, if you will, that allows that information, those records on citizens that have provisioned their identities to be leveraged not just in a digital interaction with the government, but also they can be leveraged later on by employees working with the government, accessing this information during the call center call, for example, or when people come in a self-service center, as in a walking center as well, right? So that's what is possible with this type of approach.
Excellent. So, I mean, you've talked through a lot of layers, a lot of the layers on that. And one of the things I was talking to James about earlier was about the future of identity and about distributed identity and verified credentials. Can you talk a little bit about how this same platform kind of forms the hooks and the hub to facilitate that for governments in the future as well?
Okay, so to answer this question, let's take another color here just to show some of these extension points. So we already showed that we can have multiple new identity providers added, like banking providers, like EID providers that are very popular in Europe, where I'm from, right? So this is one way of doing things. Second extension possibility is that is linking multiple different solutions together in the government. So effectively making sure that existing, if you will, legacy investments are brought forward as well. So imagine we had another portal of the government, we would be able actually to make sure that this portal also depends on the same identity. And this comes back to what you discussed before on making sure that the same user with the same identity can access multiple different websites of different government departments, right? So that's kind of the basics. Now, coming back to your question on decentralized identity, the same solution actually can over time be extended even to support that as well. So let's look at the at the decentralized identity concept here, which would be we would have a wallet going forward. So the citizen has a wallet where they want to store their credentials that get issued, right? So how we can extend this solution going forward when DID gets adopted more and more is that there are a couple of things. First element that we can do is that we can leverage the same solution with extension here to start issuing these verified credentials directly from the Identity Hub as well, right? So Identity Hub has access to profile data that we discussed here, right? So it can issue those verified credentials that then can be used by the citizen, potentially completely different websites as well, even commercial websites, as was discussed before. Second element of extension that is possible is that obviously, not all of the government institutions will adopt DID right away, right? So what we want to do, we want to have some kind of a transition plan here. And to do that transition, we can actually use the same mechanism we had here and introduce an identity provider that depends on verified credential. This means that this existing site that I drew here, the green one, that was leveraging effectively single sign-on using our Identity Hub, they even without knowing about verified credentials, they can get access to them and effectively provide login capabilities for the users that are using verified credentials using the same ID Hub principle. So these are a couple of quick ways and quick scenarios of how this solution can be extended to support more portals, more identity providers, and over time also the DID as well.
Well, that's great, Aldis, and I think one of the great evolutions of this conversation, we started by talking about digital services for citizens, and governments need to continue to evolve that in the post-COVID world. And now we're getting into how those same investments start getting leveraged for protecting citizens, for ongoing transactions, for distributed identity, all sorts of uses and purposes, all based off the same investment by the government. And I think I think we've really shown that here today. So thank you very much. And Ghazi, I'm going to throw it back to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, Trevor. In summary, the Gauteng provincial government worked with Microsoft to develop a digital platform using Azure, Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and Dynamics 365. The resulting tool made government services more inclusive through increased remote capabilities and featured a web portal, mobile app, and bot that provided 24/7 access to the community. Currently, the 400,000 people using the platform can easily access government services from any location. As part of their transformation journey, the Gauteng provincial government aims to become fully digital within the next 5 years. Hopefully, you're inspired to empower your people, enhance your government, and enable your society. Connect with a Microsoft representative to begin your own digital transformation journey. Here are some next steps you can take with us. Learn more about digital identity for government services by visiting our industry blog site for a publication by Trevor Esco. Visit our customer stories site to learn about the meaningful outcomes that the Gauteng provincial government achieved by partnering with Microsoft to meet their needs. We are so glad that you attended this session today, and thanks for joining us.